So guys, last week I spoke on communication, how to master the art of effective communication, and one of the tips I gave in becoming a better communicator was body language. And if you've not watched the video, please give it a watch. I will link it towards the end of this video. And in that video, I said more than half of our communication is non-verbal. That is, body language takes over 70% of our communication. And today I was like, let me talk about body language because it is something that a lot of us do not pay attention to. And for something that takes more than half of effective communication, I feel we need to touch some light on it. And also, body language is something that you don't just pick up at once, just like watching my video and expecting yourself to automatically learn the art of body language. It is not possible. It doesn't work that way. But what I will say is body language requires attention. You being an attentive person, and also discernment. Discernment is one of the key elements in body language. And this also gets me to the idea, or leads me to the idea where I would always say it is important for us to chase ignorance, because we need to be knowledgeable in different parts, different aspects of life, because most times for you to be able to understand one thing, you need to be able to have the knowledge of a different thing entirely to give you a better perspective or better picture or whatever it is you're dealing with. So for body language, aside practice time, it is very important to know that it requires discernment and being attentive, because our bodies are always talking, and body language is something that we give you all 95% of the time. So yeah guys, I would love for us to talk on the power of body language. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is doing fine. If you're new here, welcome. There are lots and lots of content for you to watch to get conversant with my contents and I. But let's move into what we'll be talking about today, which is body language. Now, why is body language important? Body language is important because just like communication, we need it for effective communication. We need it to build trust with people. We need it to connect with other people. And we also need it to be able to understand what we are giving of our body or our body language and what other people are saying. Because just as I said, over 70% of our communication is non-verbal. And just as I said in the beginning of the video, our body tends to give more than we even realize most of the time. So in fact, have you ever been in a situation where after a first date night or peradventure you met a stranger on the road, at a restaurant or hotel, somewhere you met someone and suddenly, according to you or from your own perspective, it seemed like the conversation went very well, but then you never tend to hear from the person again? Sometimes, not always, sometimes it could be that your body gave off a different signal from what you were saying. So sometimes most of us are not even curious or aware of the signals our bodies are giving. And body language is something that can speak louder than words. Just as I said, it gives more than you can say. And body language, again, you should know that it's something you cannot fake. If you fake it, people are aware. Those who are able to understand body language or can read body language will be able to know when you are faking it. So the key point is to be genuine, because sometimes our body language can also be deceiving, in the sense that sometimes if I'm slouching, it could be that I am just tired or my mind is wandering to so many directions. Doesn't mean that I am not being attentive to you. Or perhaps eye contact, maybe my mind once more is all over the place and I'm not making good eye contact with you, and it will come off as I am not paying attention to you, whereas that is not the case. So sometimes our body language can also give mixed signals or the wrong signal entirely. Now, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. Now, it happens to workplace, work environments, interviews, casual relationships, but most especially romantic relationships. I feel like if a number of us tend to pay attention to body language, then we will save ourselves from meeting people that we have unpleasant experiences with, or you come to find out this person never had good intention for you. Perhaps it's because you were not paying attention to the body language, because body language again is something that is difficult to fake. And bear in mind that in as much as I say it's difficult to fake, just as I say, or just as it said that someone cannot be lying to you and be looking at you right into your eyes. Like if someone is not able to look at you or make good eye contact, it means they are lying. But then again, in this our world, we've come to understand that there are people who are aware of this, and there are people that could look directly into your eyes and lie to you through their teeth. So there's just so much that involves or revolves around body language. So you don't go making judgments or getting into conclusion, whereas the meaning you're getting is not the meaning that is being sent. Now, in romantic relationships, I personally love to watch reality TV shows because it just gives you an insight to human behavior. And I'll take Love Island, for example. Love Island All Stars. I've been watching it. I'm sure a number of you have been watching it, but it is so appalling that you could see two people having conversations and the body language, especially when it comes to the guys, is giving up something else and their words is saying something else, but the ladies are not able to read them true and true. So it's like they are taking everything they are saying. And we human beings, especially ladies, have gotten to the idea of actions speak louder than words, or actions speak louder than voice. Understandable, but there are some people that even if their words carry weight, it's very possible that what that person is saying to you. There was a conversation between Catherine and Montreal. If you're watching the Love Island, I hope I'm getting their names right, but when they were saying, oh, there's an attraction, his attention, his eye language or his eye contact was just wandering up and down, and when she was saying, he was just like yeah, he was just nodding, you know, not necessarily contributing. And from the body language you can tell that okay, this is someone that is not really into the Catherine, but the Catherine is not able to pick it up. That was why she was so surprised that he went for someone else other than her. So sometimes, guys, it is really important, or every time, it is really important to pay attention to what the other person is saying or what you are giving off, because sometimes people can react, and reaction comes from an action. Maybe what your body language is giving off, that's how their body language is reacting. That is why it works both ways. Being self-aware of your body language helps you or gives you a better insight and understanding in understanding other people's body language. But now that we've known the basics of body language, I would love for us to touch on some key elements in body language, and the first would be posture. Our posture speaks louder than words. Once again, do you know that in Japan it is considered rude to sit down crossing your legs in dinners or interviews, especially when you're seated with someone who is more older than you or who is more respected than you? So even across cultures, languages, body language differs very vastly. That what is acceptable in one culture might be seen as offensive in another culture. So it is really important to go into body language, understanding body language, and that is why I say it is something that requires time, practice, and also discernment. Because sometimes, especially for people who love to travel, people who are traveling, it is advisable to get conversant or get a little idea of what or how the people in that country behave, what is culturally acceptable, what is a norm in their culture, and what is frowned upon in their culture. And that will save us, because sometimes you tend to see people behave in a certain way in certain cultures or certain countries, and then when they are frowned upon, it's like where you're coming from, it's normal. So in your head, you're looking at them as the odd or strange one, and in their own perspective, they're also looking at you as the odd, strange, and rude one, whereas it's just ignorance or not being able to understand what is culturally acceptable in a particular area. For this posture, crossing your arm can make you feel defensive or overprotective, and then leaning in a conversation can make you appear interested, and sometimes slouching can make it feel like you're being uninterested, lazy, or your mind is not there. So our posture sometimes can speak louder. And guys, do you know that standing with your hands akimbo for 2 minutes every day can make you appear more confident? Because when you're standing with your hands on your waist, it appears that it makes you appear more confident. But if you're standing slouching, then it makes you feel shy, anxious, nervous, and all of that. So our posture sometimes can give off the wrong signals without us realizing. So sometimes it is better to pay attention to your posture. The next would be eye contact. Eye contact is something that I feel a number of people struggle with, because If it's too little, it can be considered as you not being attentive. And then when it is too much, you can come off as intense or creepy, so the balance, or I would say the key, is maintaining a balance. Not too much, not too little. Like, your whole conversation should be at least 60 to 70% of good eye contact. And for this eye contact, once again, seeing that it varies across through different cultures. In the Western cultures or Western countries, good eye contact signifies confidence, signifies authority. Whereas in countries like some Asian countries, some African countries, and some Latin American countries, like, prolonged eye contact makes you come off as aggressive and confrontational. I too wasn't aware of this. It was just when I was studying for this or researching, I came across this, and I was like, actually, there are some comedy from Africa that they tend to say growing up during the olden days sometimes, or the generation before, and even my generation as well. You can't look at your parents in their eyes. So yeah, in Africa, or some countries in Africa, Asia, and also some Latin American countries or cultures, it is not proper for you to stare into the eyes or make eye contact with elders. Staying away or avoiding eye contact can signify respect in these cultures, because these cultures tend to be more conscious of hierarchy. So that is why avoiding eye contact can make you more respectable to bosses and elders. The next would be facial expressions. For facial expressions is something that everyone sees. That's one of the first things everyone sees when you come in contact with someone, or someone comes in contact with you. And a little smile can make you seem approachable. It can make you feel approachable, can make you feel inviting, or at ease, comfortable to be around. Just as I say, for example, keeping your hand on your waist can also make you feel welcoming and confident. But then again, in some cultures, you can come off as aggressive. So guys, it just depends on which side of the world you're in. So the body language is somewhat complex. Again, the next would be gestures. Gestures is also something that it is important to note, especially when you're talking with your hands. Your hands should not pass the strike zone. Your hands, your shoulder to your knee should not pass, and be very mindful. Don't do over exaggerated hand gestures, or whatever gestures it is you're making, like moving your head, shaking your hand, and all of that. It is important to pay attention to gestures. And guys, do you also know that handshake, the firmness of a handshake goes differently, or it gives off different meanings in different cultures. In Western countries, for example, if you shake someone firmly, especially in places like interviews, it shows that you're confident and you're also competent. Whereas in the Far East, it shows that you're aggressive and confrontational. And also in Arabic countries, men do not shake women that are outside of their family. So guys, it is just so fascinating how body languages varies across different cultures. Also, something I noticed in Asia is laughing, especially in countries like Japan and South Korea. There's a certain way they laugh, there's a way, the intensity of their laugh and how they smile. There's a different way to how it is perceived, and sometimes smiles like that can come off as an embarrassment or shyness. If you're smiling or blushing, or a contained smile and blushing can make you feel, or can pass the message of embarrassment. Whereas in other cultures, it can come off as being friendly, So it is just a fascinating topic. And then the next on my list would be personal space. This is something, or a language, a lot of people do not understand, especially men. Some men, when you come to talking to women, it's like that person wants to enter you. It gets to a point where you can see the uncomfortability on the person's face, but the person having the conversation is not able to see it. So it is really important to respect people's personal spaces. Do not be too far and do not be too close. You can also mirror the person's body language depending on how comfortable their body is giving off, or their body language is saying, depending on how close you are. You don't have to be too far, you don't have to be too close. Just find a balance that works with the person you are communicating with. That is why it is also important to pay attention to the person's body language and also your body language, because communication at the end of the day requires an understanding to be able to get an alignment. That alignment is you not coming off too strong and you're not coming off creepy, weird, or distant, So, guys, it is really, really important that we pay attention to all of this. And I just want to encourage every one of us listening to this video, especially now that travel is like the lifestyle or what is reigning. It takes just literally a few minutes to check in with what is culturally acceptable where you are. There are some places, especially in Asia as well. That is one continent that I really, really can't wait to explore. But there are some countries in Asia where you can't even talk. In restaurants, it is not acceptable while eating for you to talk. It is frowned upon. So for people that are coming from regions like Africa, for example, it is really important to just take note of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, so you don't come off as rude in certain cultures, whereas it is not intentional, and you're not also seen as an ignorant person. It just takes very little to be understanding of people culture and being able to behave like a Roman where you're in Roman, just like the Islamic countries, the men do not shake women. The next time someone from an Islamic country doesn't shake you, you should not perceive that as weird. It just varies across different cultures. So it is your responsibility to be able to know and learn which is acceptable and which is frowned upon in whatever culture, area, country you find yourself. So guys, in all of this we have said, how can you improve your body language? Because like I said, it starts from you and I, knowing what our body language is giving and understanding what body language is. The first would be understanding your own cues. You can take standing in a mirror for an example, having a conversation, pretend you're having a conversation with someone and see your gestures. Are you smiling? Are you fidgeting? Are you rushing? Are you making a good eye contact? Are you maintaining a good eye contact and all of that? It is important to know your cues so you don't go giving off mixed signals or giving off an interpretation far from what you actually mean or what your words mean. So it is also really, really important to understand your cues, because sometimes you might think or it might seem or appear like the other person is not welcoming, the other person doesn't like you, especially when it comes to self-esteem issues, guys. Especially when it comes to self-esteem issues, there are some times where your body language already gives off the vibe that you are an insecure person. So because of that, people who are able to read body language, sometimes when you try to overcompensate for the way people are looking at you or perceiving you, you still end up doing too much, and everyone in the circle or everyone at that moment knows that you're insecure. Sometimes or most times you don't necessarily have to say, oh, I am insecure, or I am not confident, or I am nervous. It is so obvious in our body. Sometimes it could be our lips shaking, sometimes it could be our hands shaking. It is most times it is obvious to whoever is able to read it that you're fidgeting, you're insecure, you're confident, whichever the case may be. So it is important to understand your cues. The next would be mirroring others. I mentioned this earlier on. Mirroring others, just copying or going by what your partner or whoever the person is, your next communicator is, but don't make it too obvious, guys. Just do whatever works for you. But mirroring can also be easy and recommended as well. And mirroring doesn't mean the moment someone moves their hand, you also move your hand. No, but just doing it in moderation, especially if you don't know what is acceptable, especially when it comes to first communications or first conversations. You can just mirror the person. That is also advisable. The next would be practice open body language. That is, like I said, crossing your arms can come across as avoidance. So you could smile, nod, give you a good eye contact, all of that. It helps with the communication. The next would be for you to slow down. Sometimes when you're nervous or you're anxious, you find out that you're rushing and you're fidgeting. But if you're more calm and more deliberate, it shows off confidence, or it makes you appear more confident. Don't rush, just take a deep breath, be slow and be deliberate. And then the next or the last would be watch for feedback. Pay attention to how people are receiving your body language. Are they nodding in agreement? Are they leaning in to show concern or interest? Are they maintaining a good eye contact? So with that, you'll be able to know if you're on the right track or if there's something you need to adjust. But just as always, guys, now that we've known the basics of body language, what are the benefits for body language? What do you benefit if you practice learning good body language? The first on my list would be increased self-awareness. Being able to read body language or understanding your own body language gives you self-awareness. You're more conscious and aware of the signals you're giving and what your body is saying. Because as I said, our bodies are always speaking. There's always a communication going on with our bodies. The next would be enhanced emotional intelligence. Being able to understand or read a proper body language can make you accustomed to people's emotions, thereby making you more attuned to people's emotions and making you more empathetic. The next would be professional growth. Just as I said last week, people who are better communicators tend to rise faster in their careers. If you're able to study body language, interviews come easy to you. Being able to carry yourself at the workspace, during meetings, in the presence of your boss, your subordinates, the higher ups, just body language helps you be able to have personal growth, in your career as well. But especially personal growth can make you become a better communicator, understanding what you're giving off and what people are giving off and how there's a reaction, and being able to communicate effectively and be able to get an understanding so that there's an alignment, because the end of conversation or communication is understanding. Both of you have to be in understanding and agreement for there to be like an alignment, for example, or let's say a contract. For there to be an end goal, there has to be an understanding between both communicators. The next would be conflict resolution. If you're able to read people's body languages, then when a case arises where you're seeing someone tense or being in a place where there tends to be conflict or conflict is coming, you can be able to easily diffuse the situation by reading the body language without it having to escalate, from being able to notice people's body language. Because sometimes you can be in an argument with a stranger, maybe in a store or filling station, wherever, and then from their body language, sometimes you can tend to see when people are getting agitated or about to, cause trouble or commotion. So it helps you diffuse that before it becomes something else. And then we have boosted confidence. Being able to understand body language goes without saying. Of course, you will be able to be in tune with everything that is going on around you. So it also builds your confidence, because you can freely talk in any space, interviews, public speaking, communication one-on-one. You're more confident and more poised if you're able to read body language. And then the last would be improved first impression. Body language can help you in first impression, can help leave lasting and long first impression, and also it works both ways. That is also why I said sometimes, not all the times, there are certain situations where people didn't get back to you again, or it seems like from you everything worked fine, and then after a while you never got to hear from those people. It could be the body language as well. So being able to understand body language can help improve first impressions, because think about it, guys. There are some times where you enter into a room, an office, a space, whatever it is, no communication was made, no mouth open, no voice was heard, and then you find out that you come out and you're like, you don't know what it is, you can't place your hand around it, but that person is just giving you bad energy, or that person is so happy, there's good vibes, or something is just off. Don't you ever wonder that no voice was heard, no communication was done, but you can believe 100% in you that it's either that person is giving off weird vibe, negative vibe, or that person is giving a happy vibe. So guys, body language plays a huge role in every aspect of our lives, in casual relationships, in workspaces like interviews, and especially in romantic relationships, because people can be lying to you. And also sometimes people fake smiles. You should also understand that people who know how to read body language are able to detect a fake smile. Authenticity is the key, and being able to build a good body language gives you an authentic vibe. So guys, it is really important to practice body language, and just as I say, it has to do with discernment and being attentive, so you understand how body language works and how it is different or how it varies through different cultures. But fun fact, guys, Did you know that not only human beings use body language, animals also use body language? Take dogs, for example. When a dog wags its tail, it shows signs of excitement. But when it is high and stiff, it shows that they are threatened. And guys, let's move into what I'm watching this week, or what I've been watching this week. One of the series I've been watching this week is called Asia, and here it just shows different animals, wild animals, animals on sea, on land, mountains, across Asia, different parts in Asia, starting from Thailand, Japan, North Korea, just different parts in Asia. And it is just so fascinating because today I was watching a Tibetan antelope in Asia, and you could see both of them fighting. It was like they just looked at each other for a few seconds, and the next thing they started fighting so aggressively. So it's like, how were they able to come to the understanding that there's no alignment, there's no communication, there's disagreement, okay, it's time for them to fight, It also leads to body language. So just as humans need body language, animals also use body language. But yeah, what I've been watching, guys, Asia is an interesting, fascinating series. And just as I said, there are some animals I've been able to see, like this Tibetan antelope. It is so fascinating and different that it is so crazy how many things are on this planet that we're not even aware of. Places, animals, temperatures, lakes, springs that we're not aware of. And for the first time, I was able to see a wild dog, I was able to see a wild goat, a mountain goat, tigers, different species of monkeys, for example, cat family, for example. And guys, today, I was this years old when I knew that polar bears enjoy snow, ice water. They only live or exist, or I would say a particular family of polar bears, especially in the Asia, for example. They thrive in cold, extremely cold conditions. Like, guys, when seas get frozen due to extreme conditions, weather conditions, that is their swimming place. And also there are some animals that are able to survive 4,000 meters above the mountains or on the mountains. And guys, it is just so crazy and fascinating how everything is designed to work for itself. Their feeding, their hierarchy, and also when it comes to the animal kingdom, there is a family, or there's an animal that is bigger than you in size or whatever. There is always ranking something that is bigger than their survival. And sometimes in Thailand, there was a place we're talking about, a particular sea in Thailand, where even the feces, the feces of a different animal feeds a different animal. So it is just so fascinating how God built this system, and it just opens your mind or opens your eyes to the beauty of this world, the beauty of the things that are yet unseen, things that people don't know about, And today again, I also got to know a new eagle. But unfortunately, I can't remember the name. But yeah, guys, give it a watch. It is a series. It is called Asia. I will leave the poster for you guys to know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, it is so fascinating to see their lives, their living conditions. There are also some animals, certain animals that only live under extreme temperatures, and it is just really fascinating. So that's what I've been watching this week. Another thing I've been watching this week would be the Love Island, as I mentioned earlier. And these shows just opens you to a different perspective to human beings, human nature. It's just really fascinating to see what people are doing, the levels people will go to. It is, for me personally, it is just such a fascinating TV show, or reality TV, if I may. And then the next I've been watching would be Den of Thieves, the part 2. It was a really interesting, good watch, even though I feel it was somewhat rushed, in my opinion, because they were talking about the heist or the robbery, and it's like 5 seconds later it is time for them to start. So there were just so many missing points or timelines in the story. But yeah, overall it was an interesting watch, and from the ending we can already assume that there's a part 3 coming. So more for Den of Thieves in the coming years, because I'm sure it's not coming out this year. But yeah, that's all I've been watching, guys. And also I've been catching up on my YouTubers, my favorite YouTubers. For example, George Judy. Guys, I don't think a day passes by without me watching George Judy. I love catching up on George Judy. If you want to see human nature, if you want to see human beings, if you want to see human beings where there's no self-improvement, people in their 50s, their 40s, still carrying really toxic mentality, still carrying mentality from when they were teenagers, it is really, really, really fascinating, mind-boggling, mind-blowing to see how people react and to see the reasons as to why people take their family members, their neighbors, people who come to work for them, service providers, some petty reasons as to why people go to court. Well, yeah, I love watching George Judy because it just gives you an insight as to different kinds of human beings and mentalities we have. And yeah, guys, before we go, let's move into our quote for this week. Or actually, I noticed I've not been speaking about music. What I've been listening this week is because, guys, something happened to my Spotify, and it is so amusing that me who is sharing songs to you guys, it seems I might need help, but I'll fix the problem soon. But yeah, guys, let's move into our quote for this week. What's our quote for this week? So our quote for this week would be, embarrassment is the cost of entry. If you aren't willing to look like a foolish beginner, you will never become a graceful master. And yeah, I just want to leave you guys with these encouraging words, and once more to remind you that being able to study body language takes time, practice, intentionality, attention, discernment, and all of that. But being able to learn it will build your trust with other people, your connection with other people, and also personal growth and career growth, professional growth. That interview, that meeting, that dining, all of that will come in handy for you. But I want to hear from you guys now. What is one body language you've noticed for yourself and other people? It could be nodding head, because nodding head as well in India, for example, in India culture, nodding head passes different languages. There are different types of noddings that means different things. So it is just a fascinating topic. But yeah, I just thought to shed some light on body language, because I have come to the understanding that a lot of people do not really pay attention to body language, and body language is about or over 70% of communication. So guys, it is important to study body language. When someone is lying to you, even though they are speaking to you, maintaining a perfect eye contact, be able to know when someone is not at ease around you, when someone is not comfortable around you, or when you're not comfortable around someone. Just understanding the cues our bodies are giving out, and understanding the cues that people are giving, being able to receive the cues and interpret it to have an understanding. Because at the end of the day, the end goal of communication is understanding. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining me once more. Please like this video if you haven't, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, get notified whenever I make a post. And if you're feeling generous, share my video on your social media platforms, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.